Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Like I said, I don't think I can put it into words very well. Because I just spend so much time doing it. That's all I know how to do. I'm not good at anything else. I promise you. I'm nobody special.
I guess maybe like it just kind of hit a certain like emotional chord for me. Again, kind of choked up talking about it, but as visually enticing and crazy as it was, beautiful story with a lot of heart. These guys, are supposed to be fictional in 2D, but man, these guys could be real to me. I felt something.
That is amazing that you just said that. Like I said, I've been alone on the raft making this thing, wondering if I'm crazy, not knowing how people are going to perceive this. And to hear that, I'm good. I don't have to sell another copy. That's all I wanted.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Short Box Podcast, Season 7.
Shortbox Podcast was recorded before a live internet audience.
Yo, Shortbox Nation. Welcome back. This is episode 323. New friends and first-timers, welcome to the show. You're now tuned into the Shortbox Podcast, which means from here going forward, you're a part of the Shortbox Nation. So welcome to the club. My name is Botter Milligan, and my usual crew, Ashley, Ed, and Cesar, are not here today, but that's only because I'll be joined by a special guest for this episode. His name is Matt Lesniewski, and he's a comic book artist and illustrator from upstate New York that you for sure have heard us praise on this show as early as January this year, when his comic series alongside Matt Kent, Crimson Flower, debuted in comic shops around the country. He's the Eisner-nominated creator of The Freak, a self-published comic he put out himself in 2018 before it was later picked up and published by Ad House Books the following year. He just released a new original graphic novel through Dark Horse Comics titled Static. Shortbox Nation, let's welcome Matt Lesniewski to the show. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being open and willing to chatting on a Friday evening. Are you currently in upstate New York at the moment?
Yeah.
How's the last year treated you?
Oh man,
I think that's everyone's like initial reaction, like a puff of a cigarette. Let me tell you, boy. Let me tell you.
Been productive. I have to say that on the productivity side, I can't complain. I've been staying busy, doing my thing. Most people like to be around in crowds and interact and party and talk. And while some of that is fun, like I said, I'm introverted. I prefer to stay to myself most of the time. So for me, that aspect of things wasn't the biggest challenge.
Have you managed to like rekindle or maybe start any new hobbies or interests since the pandemic?
No, I just stayed with what I was doing, but honestly, I need to pick up a hobby. I mean, because I don't know. I just kind of drive myself insane with what I do, but sometimes I can't relax. Like I'll just be trying to enjoy myself, and I'll be thinking I could be spending this time getting better. I could be getting more stuff done. It takes so much time that any moment that I'm not spending on that, it's like feels like I'm wasting time. Or for years I've tried to break in. I'm saying that in air quotes because I don't know at what point do you know you've broken in? But
yeah.
So now once I'm here, I feel like I'm in. I feel like I'm, for now at least.
Well, I mean, the second published body of work from Dark Horse, I feel like, yeah, I think it's safe to say you got in.
I mean, I never want to feel confident that I'm here. Like I always feel like, well, I got lucky for the last time. I hope I enjoyed it. That was a fun ride.
Well, if it's any if it's worth anything, I will say that when I made a post saying that you'd be on the show, the reception was overwhelmingly positive. Matter of fact, I shared with you before hitting record that I was asking for questions because I love including our listeners in the Short Box Nation into these interviews, and if they've got a burning question, I'd love to try to work it in if possible. And instead of receiving questions, I got just a bunch of praise. Yo, Matt's artwork is so tight. Yo, the Crimson Flower guy? What? Man, tell him he's so cool. I'm like, thank you. Those aren't really questions, but I'll take it. I'll let them know.
I appreciate that. I hate to burst their bubble, but I'm actually not very cool. I'm really not cool at all. I'm like the least cool person ever.
Look, our listeners are all, I think it's safe to say they're all pretty avid comic book fans and fans of the culture. So in their eyes, you are among, a different caliber of cool. Just ride with it, just fake it till you make it sometimes.
All right. I'll just accept it.
Before we get into talking about Static, you mentioned, talking about breaking in and those moments of when you first started and stuff like that. I guess, what's one of your fondest or earliest memories when it comes to comic books? Like, do you remember the first time that you picked up a comic or saw a comic and it just sparked that thing of like, yeah, I want to do this for the rest of my life. This is my calling.
My goal shifted midway through trying to break in, but the early inspiration was just to be a penciler for either Marvel or DC comics. And I don't remember the very first thing I saw with comics, but the earliest memory probably would be my dad had a long box of his comics. And so comics were always there. Like I don't know how other people find them, but they were just, it's like cereal in the kitchen, or it's like, I don't know, toilet paper in the bathroom, or it's just ordinary objects around the house. Like every house has a TV. I have comics. Well, I had TV too, but anyway, I remember one day he had him on the kitchen table and he was pulling out Todd McFarlane Spider-Man covers. And I just remember I don't remember exactly what issue it is. The real fans will know. The one where he's like crouching down and the webbing is all the background and it's like silver.
Oh yeah.
It's a black background and silver like holographic webbing.
That might have been like when he had the opportunity to write and draw his own Spider-Man series. I want to say that might have been like one of the variants for issue 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it might have been. But I just remember seeing that. I'm like, that something happened in my brain. I'm like, that right there. I need to do that one day. Like, I just remember seeing the detail and the cool pose and the giant eyes. And because you'd see the cartoons at that point, it was already
it was everywhere.
Colossal brand. But seeing it in that form, something about it really resonated with me. And ever since then, I just knew in my head, like, I don't know what it is. It was like, it was nothing that was ever told to me or like, hey, maybe you should do this.
Just kind of spoke to you.
Yeah, it just spoke to me. Like from a very, very young age, it was before kindergarten. I know that.
My dad was the same entry point, was the same catalyst for my love of comic books. And the same kind of thing that you might have experienced. Comic books were everywhere. Like he had like this VHS cabinet. That's how old it was. And instead of VHSs in it, it was filled with comic books. Not even bagged and boarded. It was just filled with comic books. And they were in the VHS cabinet. They were in the bathroom. They were on the kitchen counter. And it took me a while to really get into it. He was in the Navy and he would go on deployments a lot. And one deployment, I was like, man, I'm going to be so bored without you here. And he was like, you got plenty to do. Matter of fact, read a book. Like literally read a book. And he passed me a Spider-Man comic, and that was a wrap. It was like during the Onslaught saga. So I've got like a special place for Onslaught, even though it is a terrible comic book in that retrospect. How does your dad? What's your dad's, I guess, reaction or reception to you? Being in the industry, like doing comic book art.
It's a good question. He definitely likes it. He knows what I do. We talk about it. I don't know if that's a good answer, but yeah, he's aware of what I do. He likes it. He thinks it's cool. He's been fully supportive since the beginning of it. Like, yeah, if that's what you want to do it. Like, because we've always been a creative family. Like, he's always done different, like he's painted, drawn. I think early on he did comics too, like just doing some of his own, maybe like a Conan submission. Like, I think I remember seeing old pages that he did. So like I said, even that part of it was around. But like I said, it's such an early memory that it's hard for me to remember it clearly. Like, it was just so like comic book culture almost. It was just ingrained. Like, it was just part of life.
Well, it sounds like my dad and your dad would get along pretty well, because he used to draw as well. And I'll never forget like the Cyclops drawing that he did. I thought it was the coolest shit in the world. I was like, whoa, my dad could be a comic book artist, but he's not, because, he got bills to pay. So I think they'd get along. So I wanted to talk about, of course, this new book you got out of Dark Horse Comics, Static. It's an original graphic novel by you. You're handling both the writing and art duties alongside Carlos Bedella, who's doing the colors. And I'll link the press release for it in the show notes. So whoever's listening, if you guys want to see the cover or scroll through some of the preview pages for themselves, it'll be there. Check out the show notes. But I'd like to ask you, Matt, how you personally would pitch or describe this book to someone. Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox Store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
To be honest, I wouldn't, because my words are probably the worst way of communicating anything. My art and my comics, that's how I communicate with the world. And everything in the comic, I've already said it. See, the thing is, when you talk, everything is a first draft. Whereas I've been spending 12 hours a day for a year on just this particular project, nonstop, just pouring my soul into it. And I don't really have a good way of, I can give people listening an idea of what it might be, but like I said, it's probably the worst way of telling you what this thing is. I think people get confused with sometimes what comics are, because what you see so much is writer, artist, colorist. It's always broken down, and they start to think, oh, so-and-so's a good writer, so-and-so's a good artist. But that doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about all these elements coming together to make the one thing. The comic, that's the thing. It's not best writer, best colorist, best letterer. It's the comic that you made. It's the soup of all these different ingredients coming together. It doesn't matter who did what. It's because one person could do everything. Or you could have 10 people. Like, you could have assistants doing backgrounds. You could have this person's doing lettering. But anyway, for those curious, for those who want something, I'll do my best, because I'm not the best at encapsulating what my comics are into like a elevator pitch type thing. Like,
Yeah.
that in this book in particular, I don't know why, but it's the hardest one to really summarize in a succinct way without also giving things away. But
Well, I'll tell you this much. I've hyped it up to a few folks already. It is like Junji Ito nightmare fuel with like Jeff Darrow level of like hyper realistic detail meets like that movie Tusk body horror science. You know,
nice.
And hopefully I'm doing your art justice.
No, I like that.
That is the vibe I got. And to your point, even my words, I feel like are, don't do it justice. It really is one of these books that you can probably just flip through. Even just the preview pages that are on the Dark Horse website, I think would be enough for anyone that is a fan of comic books. And especially like values or goes to comics for artwork and really hones in on, every panel and detail. I think just the preview pages alone would be enough to convince someone to pick up the book.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I don't think I could put it into words very well.
Yeah, I'll say this. Those first 5 pages, seeing Emmett, wake up and really like no dialogue, no nothing. It's just like, it's like, damn, this burly ass dude is gone through some shit, obviously. But when he gets to the scene where he pulls up, he calls in like, hey, I got target. And then like it's the green text box or the dialogue boxes. And he's like, and he kind of gives his whole story. Dude, that was fucking beautiful. And that ending.
You like that?
Yeah, man. It's like, I guess maybe like it just kind of hit a certain like emotional, chord for me. It was just something about that where I was like, it's not about what's in front of you. Not the storefront,
yes.
for lack of better terms. There's something deeper there. And that's what resonated with me. I was like, okay, yeah, wild ass story, this fucking bodyguard / mercenary hunting down these crazy looking fucking animals that gave me nightmare fuel for a couple days. Flying monkeys, I feel like should not have surprised me, but the way you drew them, I was like, they would fuck me up. These flying monkeys or whatever they are, flying monkey hybrids would fuck me up. But by the end of it, like, dude, it was like, again, kind of choked up talking about it, but as visually enticing and crazy as it was, beautiful story with a lot of heart. It's a lot of heart, man. And same thing with Freak too. It was like, yeah, this is really interesting visually, but what he's trying to tell and the emotions he's evoking is it resonates. If you're reading it for the right purpose, you're going to get something out of it. You're going to feel something. That's what I want to say. All the long-winded, I felt something reading both Freak and Static. It's something about like how simple, and I say this respectively, your stories are, and its ability to like make you feel something. It's like, wow, it's not very complex. It's not convoluted. It's not like 17 plot threads that I need to work through and whatnot. It's pretty straightforward, but the adventure that he goes through and, seeing your main characters change by the end of it, it's like, wow, yeah, these guys, are supposed to be fictional in 2D, but man, these guys could be real to me. I felt something.
That is amazing that you just said that. That, like I said, I've been alone on the raft making this thing, wondering if I'm crazy, not knowing how people are going to perceive this. And to hear that, I'm good. I don't have to sell another copy. That's all I wanted. The meaning behind it, what I was going for is, it doesn't matter how low it seems, you still have another chance. No matter what, there's still another chance. It doesn't matter how bad it seems. If you just try, you have a chance to try again. What I like about that too is, just like the Freak, which most people know me for that, the story on the surface, that's just the surface.
100%.
It's just it's the clothing. It's not what the story's really about. So another part of me not wanting to tell you what it is, it doesn't matter what it is to me. It's about what it is to the reader, the whole experience and what they get from it, however they connect with it. That's what it is. The same thing with the Freak. I've gotten dozens of different messages and just people telling me in person, like, is it about this? Is it about that? And I'm like, I never would have thought of it that way, but it does fit. And if that's what it is to you,
That's what it is.
you're
to
not
you.
wrong. You're not wrong. So this is I made this in the same way. If you're not sure what this thing even is, there's something for you to follow on the surface. Like I said, the clothing, the texture, I don't mean literally clothing. I just mean the crust. What's on top, what's obvious. But if you really think about it, or maybe you give it a second read, you might interpret it in a certain way, or it might resonate in a certain way that only does that for you. So me telling people it's this, and that, I'm just going to be not spoiling. I'm going to be setting you up to think it's something that it might not be for you.
I'll definitely say it's a book that I recommend anyone go in without any preset expectations. So I'm glad that you're emphasizing that really well.
Yes, do not expect anything. Just go in open-minded. I know that's kind of a cliche thing, but just go in open-minded and just try to enjoy it.
Well said.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Whatever you pull from it. And a lot of people don't like that. They want you to cross your T's and dot your I's and spell out every little thing. But I don't like that. Even as a fan, I like to, even if it's a movie or a comic movie, I don't want every little thing broken down. I want to wonder myself. I want to use my imagination. That's me as a fan. So I like to make things that way. Not every little thing needs to be explained.
How has the reception been so far?
Better than what I expected. I'm not lying when I say this. Whenever someone gives me a compliment, I think they're just being nice. So anytime I get any kind of anything, I'm shocked. I'm completely shocked. What? You don't think it's terrible? You don't think to me, it's been amazing. I could sell 10 copies, and if everyone loved it, I mean, I probably shouldn't say that, but if those 10 people loved it, I'm happy, because I'm not creating from that mindset. I'm not trying to take over the world or be the best. I'm just trying to be the best me. So anybody that liked it, anybody that said, I really enjoyed this, I appreciate the art, I appreciate the story, you spend your hard-earned money to buy this thing that I put my heart and soul into, I appreciate that.
I really appreciate your humility. Let's be real. You are a Eisner nominated creator. What's changed for you the most since getting that Eisner nomination in 2018 for your other creator-owned project, The Freak? Has anything changed?
Not really. I mean, not anything obvious. Not anything. Well, some people came out of the woodwork, like people who would be following me, and they would never acknowledge me. They know who I am because they're following me, but they come out of the woodwork like, man, congratulations! Wow, that's awesome. They never once interacted with me in any way. I'm like, oh, okay.
So you had a case of the Mike Jones back then. They didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me.
Kind of. I don't know. But aside from that, I mean, I would like to think it kind of, people viewed it in more of a serious way, like what I do. Like it gives it more of a validity, I guess. But I'm nobody special. I promise you, I'm not. I'm appreciative of the award. It means a lot. By that, I was completely stunned, just in disbelief, truly. When I was asked, would you like to submit this book to be considered by the Eisner committee? I was yeah, I guess. If you want to waste your time with that, go ahead. And then when a couple months later, or whatever it was, I was just, it was like grief. The stages of grief. The first one is disbelief. That's where I was at. I was just completely, it's not real. It's not real.
You're like, yo, is Ashton Kutcher back in is he a big thing now? Am I getting punked?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think that, but I don't know. Even now, I'll remember it. I'll remember it. I'm like, oh, that's real. That actually happened.
Because I was introduced to your work through a good friend of mine, Austin Wade Ellis. Shout outs to him. He's the one that put me onto your body of work. Matter of fact, 2 years ago at Heroes Con, he was unable to make it, but I was going, and one of the first things he told me was like, look, I can't make it. I want to go so bad, but if you can stop by Lesniewski's table and pick up a copy of The Freak and make it a priority, first thing you do when you touch down, I'd appreciate it greatly. And I ended up picking up that book. and it was going to be like a couple weeks before I'd seen him. So, I flipped through the book. I looked through his book. I'm sorry. I mean, I picked it up. It's the least I could do, right? Damn, I was so glad I did. I almost gave him that book without reading it myself. And I read it and was just floored, man. Like, whoa, yo, where has this dude been? So, I mean, I think The Freak is definitely deserving of its Eisner nomination. I wanted to get back to Static. I think it was in a Comics Beat interview where you described the story of Static as something that went through a few iterations and that it was constantly changing on the exterior, but the interior core of it had always been the same. It sounds like Static was really important. It was really important to you. Can you share like why you wanted to tell the story? Did you have like a goal or maybe like a specific motivation in mind?
Every comic that I do where I'm writing it and drawing it, like I don't know, I just view it in a different way. Like it's precious to me. Like, so I have a hard time committing to something that I don't really, really care about. So as far as a comic, like I might be spending months and months, if not a year or more, trying to bring this thing to life, trying to get it published, trying to get the word out. So it comes from a personal place, the story. If, people say, oh, I relate to this or relate to that. Well, I relate to it. I relate to some core piece of it. I don't know. I feel like, not to knock anybody, but I feel like some people, who make comics, they just try to think of, oh, what's a good elevator pitch, or what's
hot? What can I do to ride whatever this wave or whatever pop culture is hot, instead of what am I feeling? What am I trying to say?
Yeah, like it needs to mean something. It can't just be, oh, well, this would be fun to draw, so I'll just make it a thing about that. Like, well, you're not going to care about it a month later, more than likely. I know I won't. Like, if I'm drawing it, like that's one of the biggest struggles in creating comics, like trying to think of something that you're going to care about 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. You have to still care about it to follow through and complete this thing. And then even still, you're gonna have days where it's like, I do not want to think about this again. Like, I cannot wait to be done with this. But then that just means you need a break. So, everybody's human. So,
and you said Static took you a year, 12-hour days of a year of 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. About a year. I mean, I was doing commissions and I did a few conventions in between, but I would take like one day off a week. That'd be that's been my schedule pretty much, but actually not even a full day off. One day I kind of take it easy, but other than that, even if I don't want to, it's like an obsessive, weird thing where I'm not even actively telling myself to do it. I was kind of getting at it earlier. Like, for so long, I've been trying to do this and I've sacrificed years working at it, trying to get good at drawing, trying to get good at making comics. So now that I'm here, if I'm not spending every minute I have, which I know this isn't healthy, but if I'm not spending valuable time on that, I'll beat myself up in my head like a drill sergeant. I'll be like, you lazy piece of shit. You wanted to be in comics, didn't you? Why are you not drawing? Like, get back to the desk. Why are you sitting around? When really, like, if you're working out, I don't work out, but you need a day of recovery. Mm-hmm. You need time to rest. That's part of it. But I'll beat myself up. Like, oh, okay, I guess you didn't want it that bad, did you? And I'm not even saying those words in my head, but it's the feeling. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling that way. Like, I'm feeling guilt. And anytime I'm not doing it, I'm feeling guilt. Like, I'm letting that opportunity pass by. So that's why I get a lot done. Just because, not that it's not like I necessarily have the best work ethic, but I have just like an unhealthy mind. It also goes with my style too. The way there's all these little details. I'll tell myself, like, I mean, now I'm kind of finding it may not be obvious, but I'm finding more of a balance with what I do, but it's a feeling in my head. Like, you need to prove why you should be here. You need to prove why someone should even care about reading this. Like, you need to go all out. You need to put 100% effort into this. Don't be lazy. Draw that background fully. Like, could you have done more? Could you have really detailed that building? Like, what about the brick? There's brick right there that you could have put. There's windows. There's a texture to that wall. No, don't be lazy with that wrinkle on the shirt. In my mind, I'm feeling that. And I don't know where it comes from, but it's part of everything that I do. Like the productivity and the style. It kind of, I'm not trying to do it. It's like coming from a subconscious place. Like, no, you have to. Like there was a point where there was a mind shift, and it was with the Freak. Something happened when I thought of that story, because I had done more than a few comics where I self-published them, and each one I would submit every publisher, and they would all deny it, or they'd look at it and say, "Cool, but keep going. We're not interested right now." And so when I got to the Freak, honestly, I didn't believe in the idea at all. I didn't believe in it at all, but I eventually committed to it. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go for it. But something happened where I went, no. I'm going to make this good. I'm not looking for people to notice or, no excuses. It's kind of what I just said. Like, I'm going all out, like, just fill that panel with detail. Like, go whatever it takes, by any means. This is going to be noticed. This is going to be picked up. I'm going to make this happen. And I went into it with that energy. Like, it was intentional. It wasn't an accident. It was like I snapped. No more games. No, this is going to happen. Like, I'm done being not noticed. I'm done putting in all this effort and just no one cares. They're going to see this one. And I don't know if that's a good mentality, but that's what it was. I remember it.
I think that mentality speaks for itself. I think everyone definitely paid attention, and I think your profile was definitely raised by just going that. It sounds like that next level. And I'm glad that you brought up the amount of attention to detail and how committed you are to, quote unquote, not phone it in. It sounds like you are very conscious about the level of effort that needs to go into every single page and small detail. Because I was going to say, one of the most visually magnetizing things about your artwork is the vitality and movement I get when I look at your panels. Like, you manage to offer such a unique and fully immersive reading experience through your use of, exaggerated body movements, the different angles and point of view that you use, the distinct emotional expressions on on your characters' faces, but also, like you said, through the small details, like the textures or the way the clothes is worn by some of your characters. Like, you show the stains, the tears, and dirt as the story progresses. And I was curious, like, what's your process for constructing your panels and creating your character designs? Because that's another thing that I had a lot of people reach out about, was like, man, his character designs are so wild and just magnetizing. I can't stop looking at it.
Well, thank you to anyone who said that. And thank you for that compliment. But before I go into that, you said a certain word that actually describes it better, which is care. It's not detail, it's effort. Like, I really care. This means a lot to me. Whereas I look at some people's comics, and again, I never want to tear anyone else down. I never want to discourage anyone. I want to be positive. Everyone can do this. You're not competing with anyone. You're competing with yourself. There's only one you. And again, that might come off as a cliche, but I think that's true. Like, there's only going to be one you. You're the only one who has had your experiences, your life, your interests, your influences, everything that makes you you. Only you could be you. So you're not competing with anyone. You're just trying to become more of what you really are. But like I said, it's not necessarily a detail thing. It's a care thing. I like passion. I want to see, even as a fan, I want to see passion. I want to read, oh, this person, they're afraid to die before they finish this, before they finish making this. That's where I was at with the Freak. I'd be walking across the street, and I'd triple check, make sure there's no cars. I need to finish this comic. It needs to be in the world.
Wow.
When I finish it, then I could kind of relax. I could maybe check once when I cross the street.
I might jaywalk. Today.
I might jaywalk. But what was your question? Oh, character designs. Well, for one, it needs to be something that I don't mind drawing 1,000 times. So I kind of go through a test run. I mean, you're not really going to know everything. You're going to get sick of a little bit, or you're going to get at least tired of. Like, all right, I need a little break. But if you're before you've even started drawing the comic, you're still in the imagination side of it, and you're just dreaming up what this thing might be. If I can't stop sketching the character, that's a good sign. Also, I try to find a good balance between a simple look, meaning it's not too complicated so that I could repeat it over and over and over again, without too much difficulty, but also I can do a lot with it.
How did Emmett come to be? Because you mentioned somewhere that you were really excited drawing him. Like you could can you see a little bit of yourself in him in some way?
His anatomy, he's a bigger, stronger type character, whereas the Freak is a frail. He's the opposite. So I wanted to go completely opposite from what I've done. So that I think part of that is just showing like, oh, that's not you didn't figure me out. Like that was that book. Now I'm onto this. Yeah, usually it's an opening scene and a character that comes to me first. Like it comes to my head, and then I have to make it work on paper.
I'm glad you brought up that opening scene in Static. I think it was those first, I want to say 5 pages. Those first 5 pages where the comic opens up with the main character Emmett. Looks like he had a rough night. I mean, house is looking all trashed up. He's waking up on the floor. He's kind of taking inventory of everything around him. He's getting kind of cleaned up. Looks like he had a hard night of, hunting down these monsters for this mad scientist. And he jumps in the shower. But you elongate something that could probably have been 2-3 pages to a riveting 5-page, like just sequence. And I felt like I was watching a hyper detailed storyboard for a movie unfolding. Like those first 5 pages, I was like, wow, he's only gotten to the shower. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be, there's a lot of care and thought put into this. And you know what? It feels like you managed to elongate moments that I think most artists maybe wouldn't elongate in between moments. It's like you can really track and trace every movement that he makes to get into the shower and, waking up off the floor and all this stuff. And I'm writing some notes. I'll try to share some of these pages on our social media without, of course, picking any of these spoiler pages. But you recently worked alongside writer Matt Kent on Crimson Flower. Like I said, we just recently wrapped up. How is working alongside Matt Kent? And what are the pros and cons for you as far as working strictly as an artist for a project versus doing both roles for a project? Do you have a preference?
Definitely prefer doing my own thing for multiple reasons. But I like working with Matt. Yeah, I'd say the biggest pro to working with a writer is I don't have to come up with. I'm not doing all the controls on the ship. I'm in my lane. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my job, and everyone else is doing their part. And this didn't happen often, but you get the chance to bounce ideas off other people. Whereas if it's just you could be on page 80 and going, am I insane? Is this just crazy? Because that's kind of the experience I had with Static, which is I was working with Dark Horse, but for the most part, I was just alone. Which I like. I prefer that. But at times you could feel, it's like I'm on a raft in the ocean, and I'm just like, am I going to find land?
It sounds like there's like a level of comfort and security. I mean, that's just kind of comes with it being in a team, It's like, well, I know as long as I put in my work, this guy's got my back and, he's going to take care of that. So that's one less thing on my plate and all that.
I still prefer the raft. I way prefer the raft because I get to choose my own path. I get to go my own way. I get to take a nap on the raft when I want. I can eat what I want on the raft, whereas I got to do what the team wants when I'm on the ship. And I'm not risking as much. I'm not making all of the choices. I like making all the choices. Doesn't mean they're good, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the process.
No, I was going to ask, because you mentioned, I think it was in that same Comics Beat interview, you said that me, Matt, and Bill Crabtree, who colored the series on Crimson Flower, will team up again. So it got me thinking, like, well, I wonder who else would be on your like dream team roster of other people that you'd want to collaborate with.
Not really. The only what I do have there are dream ones, but the list that I have are people that I either know or I have. It seems more likely that I could access.
Well, could you give me a mix of maybe dream and realistic, or people that you've got in mind already?
I don't want to. People don't know they're on the list. That's the thing. Only I know it's on the list.
Fair enough.
I don't want to put it out there and then someone else might. Because a lot of them are underrated. Like they're just no one even. Well, not no one, but a lot of people are not even aware that
it's not even on the radar.
I know who's out there. Like I'm scouting. Like, oh yeah, they're going on the list.
You spend a lot of time on your own artwork and your own projects. So how do you have time to keep a finger on the pulse of like other artists, or how do you go about finding other artists? Are you staying aware through like DeviantArt, Instagram, or like what are the channels that you're like actively keeping an eye on for new artists?
Mainly Instagram. Yeah, it's about 10 people right now. Like I said, I could make a list of 100 people, but if never in 100 years I'd be able to even talk to them, why put them on the list? There are people who I think meet all those categories I just said.
I will respect that you're keeping your list rather tight-lipped. I fully respect it, but
I can't reveal that.
Fair enough. All I know is next time I'm flipping through a previews catalog and I see your name in the writer section, and then artist blank, that's when I'm going to be like, all right, I see you, Matt. I'm going to shoot you a message like, I see you, Matt. I see you. Well, I'm hoping you can answer this question then, because this is now, I think, your second title debuting on Dark Horse, and you've been rather transparent about your excitement working with them to release not only this book, Static, but also Crimson Flower with Matt Kent. Where's that gratification come from, and what does being associated with Dark Horse mean to you?
It's a big deal. They've been around. They're an established, respected publisher, and they're allowing me to essentially do my dream job.
When I think prestigious comic books, Dark Horse definitely comes to mind. That is a company that cares about the product they put out. They're aware of their brand. They handle it really well. You know, I feel like they take care of their creators. Dark Horse is definitely a place, you know, is a publisher that you go to when you are looking for something just new.
That's a good way of putting it.
Running this podcast, I'm always, you know, speaking with people that are like, you know, give me a comic book that you'd recommend. I'm not really into like, you know, the superhero stuff or the mainstream stuff. And Dark Horse is among the publishers I point to, because it's like, I guarantee they've got something that you've never seen or you don't know that you like yet, but they got it.
They give a lot of unique stuff a chance.
Yes.
And they put a light on it and they give it a chance, which is all some people need. Like, just give me a chance.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
And, you know, you bring up Hellboy and, you know, I think about, you know, Mike Mignola and how big Hellboy is, like the movies, the merch, you know, how kind of like of a household name Hellboy kind of is. And it's like, I don't think someone like Mike Mignola would have stayed at Hellboy for all these years if he did not appreciate, you know, what Dark Horse does for him. Like, how would you describe or say Dark Horse empowers you as a creator?
They just let me be myself. They let me do, like I said, when I was doing Static, it was like I was alone on that raft, but in a good way. And I would occasionally, I'd have my walkie-talkie on the raft, and I'd phone into HQ. Hey, I'm on page 34 right now. And they'd say, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And that would be on my own, you know, I would make that choice to let them know. But other than that, they just do your thing. And then they give me the platform. Like I said, they give people a chance.
That's cool.
This not everyone's going to let this happen. Like, this book is so weird and it's so its own thing. Like, that alone, that should say enough.
Yeah. Dark Horse. Yeah. That's really well put. Dark Horse definitely is a publisher that I feel like is like, you know what? Let's shake some things up. Yeah, we'll take your story. Whatever you got. Let's give it a shot.
Exactly.
So I wanted to share these next questions that come from a mix of our listeners as well as fans of your work. Like I said, we had some really positive reception when we announced that you'd be on the show, and I have 2 questions I'd like to share with you. So this one comes from a longtime listener of the show, Corey Torgeson. He wrote, Something about Crimson Flower screams Eastern European, and a part of me thinks Russian. But there's this classic, almost childlike fantasy element to it. What was your approach to designing the characters in Crimson Flower specifically? And is it difficult to maintain those odd proportions and different poses?
Okay, good question. Good question. Well, as far as the proportions, it's not an intentional thing. It's kind of if you look at any book that I've drawn, what it is I'm getting bored. I don't want to repeat anything. In comics, you have to draw the same character or maybe the same place or the same objects. So I'm kind of forcing myself to keep exaggerating things or all you have to know is this is the same character. It's a symbol. I'm just telling a story. So it doesn't need to look exactly the same. That might be hard to notice because it's organically, as the pages turn, things are warping or things are shifting just gradually. I mean, it might be if you're at the front of the book and then you flip to the back of the book, it's going to look drastically different. And that's the reason. It's because I'm subconsciously pushing myself to do that, to stay interested or stay having fun with it. So like if you really study the way I'm drawing her jean jacket, I'm drawing it in different ways in almost every panel. Like it's never the same twice.
And then this last one comes from my co-host who could not make it here tonight, Cesar. He wanted to know, what are your thoughts on bringing a subversive style to mainstream readers? And have you read anything by R. Crumb? Because we were talking about your artwork and stuff, and R. Crumb kind of came to mind for both of us.
Okay. I understand the comparison, but which is fair. It's completely fair. But he's not somebody I study, but I'm aware of his work. But I don't own a single R. Crumb book. I appreciate his art for what it is, but yeah, it's not a conscious coincidence.
Yeah, it's not a conscious influence. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but bringing a subversive style to mainstream, it's not something I think of. It's not an intentional thing. I don't think of my style as a style. I just draw, and it's an evolution of what I've been doing since I was 3 years old, and it's just turned into this. And that's just I'm not trying to fit in this category or be this kind of artist, or I'm just being myself. I really am.
I think to your credit, your style is your own. Like it is uniquely your own, and it just so happens that no one else, outside of maybe like the R. Crumb kind of comparisons, but just so happens that it's not the mainstream look. Like your art. Yes. I think it's safe to say that your artwork stands on its own. What's a technical piece of advice that you'd give to maybe listeners that are tuning in right now who dabble in comic book art? Like, do you have a technical piece of advice for those folks who are grinding away at drawing their own comics? Maybe we could just keep it on either, character design advice or anything else you got.
A lot of people mention my textures. You might see like there's layers and layers of lines or inks. Don't be afraid to play it safe as far as, okay, this layer here, I'm going to go light. If you're doing layers of texture, like I don't know, someone's jacket or something, and you're doing texture with lines, it's better to go with a lighter line, and you decide, oh, it should have been darker. I can now layer on top of that. Play it more to that side of the fence. Like, go lighter. The only other thing you have is whiteout, and it's going to look like crap. It's not going to be good. I promise you. I try not to use it at all. I do use it here and there, but.
What about a piece of advice just a general piece of advice for someone looking to break into comics? So maybe like a piece of advice that you wish you would have gotten when you were trying to get in.
All right. I'm talking to myself as a 21-year-old. Stop doing submissions with these pretend comics like, oh, this is Batman and he's stopping people from robbing a bank. We've all seen that. We've all seen the submission 5-page thing where everyone draws in the same style, and people who know what I'm talking about, they know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm saying. Don't do that. Don't waste your time with that. That's not going to get you anywhere. You need to be making your own comics. Don't look for handouts. Don't look for a hand to come down and save yourself. Figure it out. Like, I'm saying this with love, though. Not trying to be harsh. What I would say is this. Start small, but do it as if no one's ever going to help you. You want to make comics? Make comics. Do this. Think of a 3-page story. Do that. Do it. Prove to yourself that you can do that 3-page story. Cool. That's great. You did it. Really awesome. Be proud of yourself. Now set that to the side. From doing those 3 pages, you probably learned a lot. Do a 5-page story. Completely something else. Baby steps. Trust me. Baby steps. Because you're not going to want anyone to see this in a couple of years when you're even better. So set that aside. There's a few things out there that I wish no one saw mine. So trust me. Okay, you did the 5-page. Move on to the 10-page. And as you're doing these, you're going to take tremendous leaps because you're done looking for a handout. You're done looking for a writer to email you and say, oh, hey, you want to work with me? No, figure it out on your own so that you don't need to rely on anyone. You want to make comics, right? Make comics. Don't do it for any other reason other than you love it. So you should just be doing it already. And through doing it, you're going to hate it and you're going to stop doing it, or you're going to love it and you're going to get better. Just keep doing it in baby steps. After you've done the 10 pages, you've graduated to the 1-shot, 20 pages. I'm telling you, do not skip. Don't skip steps. Baby steps. Do the 1-shot. Prove to yourself you can do that. And just keep going. If you haven't gotten to the 1-shot, don't post anything. Before I did this, before I realized this is what I should have been doing, I'd be doing the submissions to publishers, just hoping they're going to give me a handout or hoping they're going to give me a job, hoping they're going to just notice me, but I'm not doing the work. I'm not getting better. That's why they're not reaching out. You need to just do it anyway. And then through doing it, you're going to get better. That's when people will notice. Oh, who's this? Like you said, I saw the freak and you said, where's this guy been? I've been working on it, on doing comics and getting better. That's what I should have been doing. And once that clicked, it clicked. I'm like, oh, I need to do this as if no one's going to help me ever. No excuses. If you want to be good, get good. Be undeniable. Prove to yourself before you can prove to anyone else that you can do it, that you can make comics, make good comics.
That was very unique, Matt. I'll give you that. I think that's solid advice for anyone listening right now.
And again, I'm not trying to be harsh or mean or anything. In the beginning, you want to be in comics. You want to be making comics. And it seems like this giant maze where you can't even find the entrance to. So I wish someone would pop out of the maze to the 20-year-old me and go, this is what you should be doing. Do this. If you follow this path, that's the entrance to the maze. Because there is no door. There is no entry. But if you knew this, I feel like that would help.
That's sound advice, man. Sound advice. And I want to put the spotlight back on you real quick. What's the future hold for Matt Lesniewski? What else are you working on? Do you have any goals, whether professionally or maybe even personally, that you want to pursue in between projects?
Just doing more of my own stuff. Right now, I'm in the middle of writing not the next Static, but the next thing of my own, and going back to doing it yourself. I'm feeling really strongly about just doing it black and white.
Oh, wow.
Black and white.
Hell yeah.
Picking up paper, picking up pens, and making something with that. It's part of what I love about comics. It's that accessible. Anyone can do it. As long as you have the time to do it, you don't need movies. It's very hard to even make one happen. Comics, as long as you have the time and the will, you can do it.
And I'm sure I'm not in the minority. If your next project happens to be black and white and it's just a showcase of your pencil work and whatnot, because I mean your black and white stuff is incredible. Like I said, I follow you on Instagram and the stuff you'll post there is like, damn, incredible. So if your next project is black and white, hell, whatever next project you got, I'll definitely be checking that out.
Thank you,
Matt. I wanted to say this has been a fantastic conversation, and I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your Friday evening to chat with me. I will encourage all of our listeners to check out your work, whether that be following you on Twitter or Instagram, but also to pick up a copy of Static and also Crimson Flower. If you can find it at your local comic shop, go and pick that up, or even online. Pick up both of them while you're at it. Why not? Treat yourself, right? Matt, do you want to share anything with the listeners before we sign off? Maybe let them know where they can follow or reach you at. Are you doing any commissions? Do you plan at being at any conventions this year?
Probably not. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe at the end of the year. But just follow me on Instagram. at Matt Draws Comics. That's where you can find me. I'm on Twitter as well, but every day I think about quitting that. So maybe don't waste your time with that.
By the time this episode comes out, it's going to be like a deactivated account.
Yeah, he's not there.
Well, I will say, I think I saw it earlier today. Actually, you had posted that it looked like people can buy original artwork from Static through. I want to say your rep or company, your Inky Knuckles.
InkyKnuckles.com. If you want original art, right now, just the first chapter is available. Also, an anthology that I did a 12-page comic for called Dagger. Pages from that will be available too, with the chapter 4 pages. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that lasting too long on that website. So get your stuff
not.
while you can. Matt, like I said, fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
Hell yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Well, look, there you have it, Shortbox Nation. Go pick up Static, and hit us up to voice your thoughts on the project or on this interview. I'd love to keep the conversation going next week. Reach out to us on social media or via our inbox, theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the show on your favorite podcast app, because we'll have another guest interview for you next week. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Have a great week. And please continue to make mine and yours Shortbox. Peace.